Hello, I'm Trent, aka oTradeMark, and in honor of the Spooky Island Halloween event, today we're going to be taking a closer look at Ghostly. So I released this passive tier list of the damage affecting passives, and I put Ghostly as the 8th ranked damage passive, and a lot of you guys said that that was an unfair test because I used Escanor in that test. And the way that Ghostly works is it speeds up the attack speed of the fighter, and because Escanor only attacks 3 times in order to charge his ultimate, he doesn't spend a lot of time using his basic attacks or punching. So it was kind of an unfair test. However, Escanor was a legendary. He was the easiest character that I could get at the time during the 7 Deadly Sins update. It was the strongest character that was easy for me to get every passive in the game on. Okay, that's why I use Escanor. However, now we're revisiting this. I've actually gotten Ghostly and Giant onto a Saber altar. So this is the non-shiny version, the raid character for the Fate world. And Saber has 7 attacks to charge her ultimate. So you'll notice in the video here that Saber spends a lot more time actually using her basic attacks, her sword, and charging up her ultimate than Escanor. So it's a fairer test. A couple things to note about the test. You'll notice that my character is all the way back at the wall in the background. That's because I also wanted to give the advantage to Ghostly, because you'll notice here what Ghostly actually does, right? It gives 1.25 times damage, a 50% attack speed bonus, and then 10 times speed. Okay? So the speed, you'll notice right at the very beginning of the clip, she gets to the enemy and is attacking much quicker. She gets in a couple hits before Giant, who is actually slower. The Giant passive gives you like a 0.8 times speed modifier, so you're slightly slower. And so this is a much fairer test for Ghostly, and you can see that they're basically killing Tracker in the same amount of time. So Giant has a higher damage multiplier, a 1.5 times damage multiplier, but you're a little bit slower movement speed, whereas Ghostly gives you both. It gives 10x movement speed, 1.5 times attack speed, and 1.25 times damage. A lot of people don't know that Ghostly does give you a slight damage boost, or that, like what the values are. Those are exact values though. So, as they're kind of approaching the end here and are about to kill Tracker, there is something to note that these tests are still effective, but they're still affected by attack cycles. So you'll actually notice here at the end that Giant is killing Tracker a little bit faster, okay, because of the way that the attack cycles don't line up. Giant gets an ult in right here and is very close to killing, but because Ghostly charges up her ultimate faster, the Ghostly gets an extra ult off and actually is able to kill Tracker right here. So Ghostly kills Tracker 2 seconds faster than Giant in this specific test. Okay, that's not always going to happen, but in this particular test, that's how it works. Now, I didn't test all of the other values, but I've estimated them based on the Escanor timings, and this is what we come up with when we actually do this, the updated result. Okay. So keep in mind that the only 3 tests here that are actually timed are Ghostly, Giant, and the base attack damage. However, the other ones I've estimated based on the Escanor timings, and they should be pretty accurate. So where does Ghostly sit now? On a 7 attack count character like Saber Alter, Ghostly is approximately the 5th best damaging passive in the game. Now, the highest attack count that I think there is in the game, I think there might be a couple units that have 9 attacks in the game. But for the most part, the only meta characters that are really in the game that have high attack counts are at 8 attacks. And there are quite a bit of units like Saitama, Mugetsu. There's quite a few units, I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, that have 8 attack count ult charges. So for those characters, they'll get a little bit more of a damage boost. I would assume that they would be a little bit worse than tank, maybe just slightly better than tank. Again, it's going to depend on the attack cycles and kind of the ult durations for the different characters, but for the most part, you can assume that Ghostly is going to be about the 4th or the 5th best damaging passive in the game. So it's not quite as bad as I had, previously mentioned. It's not, well, let me rephrase that. If your character has 7 or more attack count to charge their ult, then it's not quite as bad as I had previously mentioned. Do I think it's like, does it need a buff? Yes, I do feel like this passive is still underpowered. There's not, I mean, for it to be the second, it's as rare as solid gold, okay? Extremely rare. So for it to be that rare, it probably should be up, at least as good as Blessing, right? Because Blessing is actually more common of a passive than Ghostly, and it's the second highest damaging passive. Solid gold is the 3rd most damaging, but it has the bonus of having the 0.4 yen multiplier. Maybe it's even 0.5, I can't recall. But solid gold is just incredibly good. Ghostly should probably, because Ghostly doesn't have any benefit like yen, maybe they could add something to Ghostly, like it could give you collector bonus on top of the Ghostly. But it's still damage-wise, it probably should be up towards these top 3 here. And it probably should get buffed just a bit. But that gives you guys a closer look at Ghostly. One last thing, if you do have Ghostly on like a good unit, a secret, a shiny raid character, even just like a regular raid character, I wouldn't recommend re-rolling it. Hopefully, now that you guys have this information, hopefully you'll go and put suggestions into the Anime Fighters Discord. You can link this video if you want, as far as like proof that even on high attack count characters, Ghostly just really isn't great. It's not a great passive, and it probably needs to be buffed. And that's why, because of how rare it is, I wouldn't re-roll it. Hopefully it gets buffed in the future. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be disappointed because you've been posting in my last video, but I got Ghostly on my so-and-so fighter, and I get that. Like I agree, it should be one of the best passives in the game because of how rare it is, but currently it is not. These are basically the new rankings. If you have an 8 attack count character, it might be about 4th place, but it's not. There's no way it's going to catch up to like solid gold, blessing, and tag 3. But that is it for me, guys. Hopefully we'll be able to. Oh yeah, I was also going to mention that I will be posting the full updated passive tier list, because this is just damaging passives right here, and a lot of the non-damaging passives have kind of shifted in their rankings. So I'll try and post that as soon as I can. But this gives you guys a better look at Ghostly's potential. Anyways, mahalo out, Pito. Thanks for watching, and peace. I'm out of here.